The thing is, like, Doug Walker, when he's punching him in the face near the end there and he's already down, you can hear squelching sound effects there.
Oh, yeah,
it sounds like Batman's dipping his hands in a bucket of berries. Like, what is this? What is the state of his face at the end of that? And can he still fucking function? I really need to know.
The state of his face is Florida.
Batman didn't appreciate his reviews. What can I say?
He's got to look like fucking bolognese by the end of that. Jeez.
So, courtesy of concept artist Keith Christensen, we have new concept art from the Batman, but not the Batman you're thinking of. This isn't Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson's The Batman. This is Ben Affleck's The Batman. The Batman solo movie that never was, the continuation of Zack Snyder's universe. The film would feature Ben Affleck's Batman going up against Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke. And there was some speculation that this would be something of a prequel to Batman v Superman, but it looks much more like this was going to be a straight up sequel, as the film would feature Deathstroke killing Alfred and Commissioner Gordon, among other Batman characters. Which would make sense as a follow-up to the ending stinger from Zack Snyder's Justice League, where Lex Luthor reveals Bruce Wayne's secret identity to Deathstroke. This would have been a devastating finale to the Batman as we know him, but it also would have made things very interesting for Justice League 2, which would take place in the Nightmare timeline, but would feature Batman working alongside Deathstroke and the Joker to take back the world from the forces of Darkseid's Armada and the anti-life Superman. God, that sounds epic, doesn't it? That sounds so cool. I really wish we could see that, but okay, like, no, the Matt Reeves stuff is really promising though, and I love that first film. This sounds like something else, man. I try and tell myself I'm not pissed off about it, but I'm pissed. But okay, thanks to Keith Christensen, we do have some idea of how the film would have looked as well, and it would have featured new designs for both Batman and Deathstroke, if this art is anything to go by. Now, I'm going to kind of preface this by saying this is ultimately concept art. They might not have used these designs in the final film. However, these were ideas that were out there, so we're going to look at them and talk about them a little bit. So, first things first, Batfleck's new suit. Whether this would have been the main suit or a suit with some kind of specific purpose, we don't really know, but from the looks of things, this was just designed to be like a main Batsuit. It doesn't say otherwise. So here is our just overall image of the Batsuit, just our general overview of how this thing will look. And it definitely appears that the Frank Miller inspiration from Batfleck's previous suit is gone. Even down to this new Bat emblem, which does not resemble the Bat emblem from the previous Batfleck suits, as well as also having longer ears this time as well. So this is very clearly quite a drastic departure from Batfleck's previous suits in the DC Extended Universe, and represents a different vision to what Snyder had. What we have here is very much a return to the sort of armored Batman look. If anything, it's kind of close to maybe Lee Bermejo's look. I know that everything these days is based on Batman Noel, but I'm definitely seeing some of that in here with like the armor padding going down the lower torso. It definitely looks like that kind of Batman. The next section actually reminds me of the Arkham Knight Batsuit as well, and we are seeing things in here that look like little nods that might have been left over onto Robert Pattinson's design, such as these little yellow buckles going around the lower part of the cowl and the lower hips. But it definitely looks a lot more functional and a lot more techy than Batfleck's previous clothy suits. Now, one of the main things about this is that Ben Affleck's Batsuit was probably the first Batsuit since like the 1960s to reintroduce the grey onto the black suit, giving us that grey and black color scheme. This costume appears to either return to the all black or goes for like a very all dark grey. It's a lot more Christopher Nolan Batman, with kind of the black on black with the bat on the chest. And I'll say this, it would be a shame to take the Batman that brought back the classic Batman color scheme and then just stick him in a single color suit again. I'm also definitely not too fond of the bat emblem on the chest. Like, personally, I think that every Batman should maintain a certain visual style, you know? And I think Batfleck should be in that red and black color scheme, and they should keep the bat emblem the same, and whatever they change around that is fine. Now, taking a look at the back, it appears like he has a kind of a collar thing at the back of his cowl, which, again, very similar to the Robert Pattinson Batman. And his belt definitely has like sort of bronzy highlights on it, but it appears to be a dark gray belt, more akin to the Battinson belt again, like I said. Very armored back section. Again, this is all quite Arkham Origins. You can see a lot of seam lines around the cowl and such, which I must admit look kind of cool. So yeah, let's take a look at, or let's take a closer look at some other parts of this Batsuit. So let's take a close look at the belt buckle. Now, this has clearly got a few different variations of the design, but I'm noticing that there's kind of that bat design in there. Like, these belts each have like some form of bat ears at the top, which I think is kind of neat. That's kind of cool. And I like the belts where they have this sort of, this dark yellow sort of khaki sort of strap going around. I prefer that to like the all, you know, black or all gray belts. So yeah, I think the belt looks pretty cool. Moving along to a close look at the gloves, as they appear to have these sort of teeth on the knuckles and like the fins that go along the side, or the spikes, or whatever you want to call them. Like, they all appear to be on these kind of gauntlets with these nice sort of straps, and the gloves look like very tactical sort of combat gloves. Yeah, I think these glove designs are actually really cool. And now we're going to move over to Batman's cowl. Like I said before, I personally do think that each Batman should kind of stay within its own aesthetic. So I think that, you know, if the Keaton Batman always has long ears, he should, you know, always have the long ears, and the Batfleck Batman should always have the short ears. But here we've got longer ears for Batfleck, as well as what looks like quite a wide opening for the mouth this time around, which I guess might have been lent over to Pattinson. But again, I like the sort of the layering of this, like the sort of the texture variation, how like the inside of the ears look almost kind of breathable, like maybe that's how he hears, and like, you know, the faceplate is like literally a plate as such. And yeah, it's a nice shape as well. Like, they've definitely got the shape of this thing right. Like, I'm not fond of like the Nolan cowls, for example, but like this cowl here still maintains that very quintessentially Batman shape. And here we've got some views from like the front, back, and side as well. And again, like the layering on this is kind of neat. Like, you can see kind of like an almost strap or an almost sort of under mask going under his faceplate. And like, he has a beard, I've just noticed, so there's going to be quite a bedraggled Batman. But I'm also noticing that his cowl definitely appears to be more like a helmeted piece that sits on top of like a fabricy part where you can kind of move his neck, I guess. And, you know, obviously, the Ben Affleck Batman was the first Batman to be able to use that sort of iconic Batman cowl silhouette with the very, very thick neck and still be able to turn it. Like, he was actually able to turn his neck in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice and Suicide Squad. Not so much in Justice League because they had a different company create the cowls due to like a credit dispute. But like, yeah, it seems like here they might have found a way around that. And yeah, I think that works pretty well. I like these collar pieces down by the side of the shoulder, and like it cuts out a good profile for Batman. But this cowl was actually going to have a special function as well, which we haven't seen on any cowls in live action before, as if we take a look at some of these images here, we can see that the cowl opens up a lot like the Arkham Knight cowl did, in the way they are sort of mechanical, and that he's wearing like a different, maybe softer sort of gel-like cowl underneath, maybe for protective reasons. But it looks very functional and very cool. Like, there's a lot that I really do like about this Batsuit design, from like a functionality standpoint anyway. I just think, you know, if they had it in that gray and black color scheme with the Affleck bat symbol and the short ears, they would be onto something here. I think this would be a really solid follow-up for Ben Affleck's Batsuits. Otherwise, you know, I feel like it loses too much of Batfleck's iconography. You know, it could be any Batman now. Then we have the concept design for Deathstroke, and I'm not 100% sure where down the line this would have been made, whether or not maybe production or pre-production for this started before Justice League, because we saw Deathstroke in a Deathstroke costume in Justice League, so it doesn't make much sense as to why he would change into like a drastically different outfit. But here we have like sort of a less armored looking one with more of the blue of Deathstroke's color scheme rather than it being like orange and black like it was in Justice League. And I'm not gonna lie, I think it looks pretty good. The cowl looks a little more bulgy, like, well, his helmet anyway, looks a little more bulgy and a little less threatening than it did, and he definitely cuts out a smaller profile or a smaller frame than the Deathstroke that we saw in Justice League did. And as well as that, his face looks a bit less menacing, but it's still a cool design. It has that very much the sort of combat look. It looks like he's got kind of digital camos on his pants. And yeah, I think, you know, he looks a bit more lightweight, you know, like he could, you know, do more flips and stunts and such than what we saw in the Justice League, but still, like, it's a neat design. I definitely prefer the sort of more imposing figure of the Justice League one, but still, this is not bad. And then we have some alternate helmet designs, with it appearing that they chose the middle one. None of these are bad, but they all look very sort of robotic, almost kind of evoking like an Arkham Knight vibe to them, and I think they're fine. But I definitely prefer the less technological, more kind of old-school helmet that we got in Justice League. Whether or not, you know, they would have actually gone through with changing his outfit for the Batman, it's pretty unclear. So I think overall, my view is just leave it alone. Leave the designs that we've got alone. The Batfleck suit was perfect as it was, and I think Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke suit, for the little that we saw of it, looked great as well. Presumably, Batfleck would have returned to his old threads anyway, because as we've seen in the Nightmare timeline in the Snyder Cut and BVS, he is wearing his classic Batman v Superman suit underneath that big trench coat, and not this, unless it's one of those retcon things, but I don't think so. As it stands right now, I wouldn't hold out any hope that Ben Affleck's Batman movie could ever happen, or even in the form that, you know, it might have taken with the Deathstroke killing all his loved ones. Not to mention, Ben Affleck has clarified that he did step down as he just wasn't enjoying it enough, and he felt that, you know, whoever should have this honor of writing, directing, and starring in the Batman movie should be someone that will just make the most out of it, not someone that's dreading it, and that's a perspective I can kind of understand. Now, there is, of course, you know, there's the possibility that things do change, you know, like people change, their minds change. From additional photography in the Snyder Cut through to the Flash solo movie, Ben Affleck has been pretty open to returning to Batman. And while it does sound as though The Flash will be the swan song for Ben Affleck's Batman, it does appear that there are still different developments going on behind the scenes anyway. So obviously very recently there's been the merger with Discovery and Warner Brothers, but then we get the news that both The Flash and the Aquaman solo movie are being delayed by another year, which is surprising given how late in the game it is now and how close The Flash would have been, and considering that the COVID-19 pandemic does not appear to be affecting film releases now. Again, very surprising. But as well as that, there's a lot of interesting implications. So, if the understanding is correct, the Flash movie would have rebooted the DC Extended Universe and folded Michael Keaton's Batman into the universe of the main sort of DC continuity on film, replacing Ben Affleck. And Ben Affleck would have his own sort of send-off. The problem with this now, though, is that Michael Keaton has also been confirmed to be appearing in the Batgirl solo movie, which has not been delayed and will be releasing this year. So is Michael Keaton just inexplicably in the Batgirl solo movie now? Or are they maybe going to cut him out of the film? Or maybe is this going to be treated as like a standalone film taking place in Michael Keaton's universe? But then why is J.K. Simmons playing Jim Gordon? Now that sounds kind of messy, but it could be that maybe Batgirl is just a completely standalone movie, maybe? But it's like, what if that's the case? And then in the Flash solo movie, Batgirl appears from one of the other timelines with Michael Keaton's Batman, and she just exists off in that universe, and they're going to be doing Michael Keaton continuation movies with Batgirl. Now that I'd be game for. Of course, what happens to Batman? What if they are folding Ben Affleck back in? What if they've made a new deal? It is worth noting, money talks. And Ben Affleck left this role when he was writing, directing, and starring in the film. Not to mention he had to work himself to an absolutely hulking size. There's every possibility that the guy's taken a pay rise, just has to play Batman, and doesn't have to work out as much to get there. Again, negotiations can be made, minds can be changed. This is purely a what-if scenario, but Grace Randolph has been peddling rumors that the Snyderverse may be returning in some form, and that these films have been delayed due to restructuring within that. Now, Grace Randolph is about as much of a source as salad cream, as I've said in the past, so take it all with a grain of salt. But all I'm saying is, what if? Is there a potential future for Ben Affleck's Batman? I wouldn't say yes, but I wouldn't say an absolutely definite no. But yeah, there you go. That's my video on the Ben Affleck Batman movie concept designs and the possibility of whether or not he may return someday. What do you guys think? Comment below and discuss. Would you have liked to have seen this? Let me know. And as always, I've really got no idea how to play this out, so I'm just going to leave it. So what do you guys think? If you enjoyed this video and you want to support more like it, be sure to hit that big, beautiful subscribe button. And of course, in the description below are links to different social media feeds, including the Patreon. If you're feeling extra generous, like the following people, who are JK Strife, Marcus Ward, Sirius the Skeptic, Biotin Arts, Mr. SP, David 20 Covers, Sergio, John Comey, Shodin, George is Lost, Legendary Ray Ray, Cheesemaster769, Adam Myers, and Fayalan Schwarzenkraut. Thank you guys, you are the best of the best, but as for the rest of you, thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a great day.